Well, howdy y'all. Welcome back to the second video in this video series about talking about the different pilot certificates. And so I already explained to you the student pilot certificate, and now in this video I'm going to describe what the private pilot certificate is, what you can do with it, how you get it. And so the private pilot certificate, that is, you're allowed to fly for fun. So that's pretty much it. I mean, if your goal in life was to become a pilot, well then the private pilot certificate is for you. And so, you can take your friends up, you can take your family up, you can even fly in furtherance of a business, which I'll get to in a second. So how do you become a pilot? Well, or a private pilot? Well, so to become a private pilot, you have to be at least 17 years old, or if you're going to fly gliders or balloons, you only have to be 16 years old. You have to be able to read, speak, write, understand the English language. And then you're also going to have to pass a knowledge exam, which I'll be talking about in future videos. So the knowledge test, which is also called the written test. And you're also going to have to take a check ride. Now, when it comes to actually like learning to fly, it's tough. I'm a professor of aviation. I have lots of students that, some of them work very hard, some are kind of a little lazy. And so if you really want to be successful in your flight training, then you need to learn to study hard. So I always tell my students, learning to get your private pilot certificate is 90% studying, 10% flying. Now you're like, well, hey, I'll want to fly airplanes. Now I promise you, flying airplanes, it's the most fun in the world. But to be honest, learning to fly an airplane, it's kind of boring. It's just kind of what you have to put up with to be able to have that fun flying an airplane. And so, like I said, 90% studying, 10% flying. The flying's easy. It's just you got your hands on the controls. This goes up, this goes down, left, right. That's flying an airplane. But being a pilot, it's all about what's up here. And I'm going to make future videos explaining good studying techniques and just, the right motivation you need to become a pilot. So go ahead and, like, subscribe. So that way you get your notifications when I make these videos. So you got to study. It's going to take about 40 hours of flight time if you're Part 61. If you're Part 141 training, then it really depends on that flight school's syllabus on what they're approved by the FAA. And I'll get into the difference between Part 61, Part 141 in future videos. But just know, study hard, 40 hours of flying, knowledge test, and then hey, you're a private pilot. So once you become a private pilot, there's some nice privileges to it. Like I said before, you get to take your friends and family up. That's one of my favorite experiences as a pilot, is just taking friends and family up, for fun. Lots of people love going up in little airplanes, and so to be able to share that experience with them is truly amazing. So you can fly for fun. You can also, let's say you're a doctor or a lawyer watching this video, and you're like, well, and you got to go travel to go see your patients, your clients. Well then, hop in your airplane with your private pilot certificate, go meet your clients, your patients, whoever, and then when you're all done, you fly back home, have dinner with the family, all good. Whenever you do go take friends and family up in the air, well, you can also share expenses with them. Now, this gets really in the weeds when you're looking at the regulation. You can't share all the expenses, but if you rent the aircraft, you can split the cost. So there's you and two buddies flying the airplane. You can split it 3 ways. If there's 2 of y'all only, then you split it in half. Fuel, oil, airplane rental fees, tie down fees. That's pretty much about it. Now, you cannot be paid to fly though. So let's say when your family member says, hey, I want to cover the entire cost to go flying with you. Well, you're not allowed to do that because that's considered compensation, and to get paid to fly you have to have your commercial pilot certificate. No amount of Googling is gonna result in you finding a loophole and being able to be paid to fly. All right, you can fly for charity. Now that one, you really can't do it that much. Basically, you're doing aerial sightseeing tours, and you can basically do like 3 times a year, so not very much. You can tow gliders. So if you're in a little airplane, you can tow a glider so that they can go fly without an engine. You know, they have to get up in the air somehow. You can do flight tests. So let's say your airplane gets some maintenance done to it. Well, then you can then go do the test flight, or somebody else has an airplane that had some maintenance done to it. You can do the test flight for them. Now, chances are, do they want you as a private pilot doing it? Maybe, maybe not. But it is just one of the privileges. Now, like I said, you cannot get paid to fly as a private pilot, but one opportunity you do have is to be an airplane salesman. So if you have 200 hours of total time as a private pilot, or just as a pilot in general, but you know, you're a private pilot with 200 hours, then you can be an aircraft salesman. So that one, you know, it's because the job's really not about flying, it's about selling the airplane. And so you're allowed to take, you know, a prospective buyer up in the airplane to kind of show them how the airplane works. And you're allowed to do that when you have 200 hours of flight time. Now, are there many of those jobs out there? Not really. I used to work for a company selling aircraft engines, and the sister company, they sold airplanes. They were the #1 Cessna dealer in the world, and they had 4 salesmen. So there wasn't that many of them. And so unless you just happen to be in that area and they're hiring, you could get that job, but chances are there's just not that many you know, salesman jobs out there. All right, so what can you not do as a private pilot? Well, you can't get paid. I know you want to start making money right away, and flying is expensive. But the more you study, the sooner you'll start getting paid. So get your private pilot certificate. And then another limitation that you're not allowed to do as a private pilot is you cannot fly in the clouds. To be able to fly in the clouds, you have to get your instrument rating, which I'm actually going to explain here in the next video in part 3. So stay tuned and watch that video. Thanks for watching. Bye.